Mom current hospital Nakuru, Florence Wanjiku, a 33-year-old mother of two, is in immense pain for severe injuries inflicted on her by her estranged lover and business partner Elias Njeru. Wanjiku says that she had a meeting with the suspect at a Nakuru hotel between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Thursday.
We met and the conversation was smooth, and it was out of business-related issues and other issues that were a bit personal. So later on, we came to an agreement. When I proceeded home, we decided to be left there for some refreshment.
The estranged lover who was trailing her waylaid Wanjiku at her residence in Kiamunyi Estate where a confrontation ensued.
He came attacking me. I tried to drive off and run away. Unfortunately, I kawanga gari yake nyuma. I locked the door, but the window was open. So kazima gari na kuchukua funguo. He proceeded hitting me on the head, using his hands, pulling me outside. So by the time I was outside, hapa ndipo nilisikia ananikatakata.
Now, having listened to the story of Florence Shiko and Elias Njeru, with respect to the squabbles that have happened in the country, a few things come out that are very clear in marriages, business and marriages. Very many people have not been able to handle situations regarding money and relationship. People could be doing very well in their relationship, doing good in business, but there is a likelihood that one person is suffering the most because the mindset that they got into this relationship. The Bible says that the two shall become one. But when we get into business relationship alongside marriage relationship, and then we make them look like we are separate, that is the source of a big problem. If the two cannot be one in business, remember, in a relationship, there are rules of engagement in marriages. A business has a different kind of rules of engagement. As per the discussion or the confession that Florence gives is that they had a business talk inclusive of a private personal issues. And then she says they agreed and they parted ways. But then now what we see later happening is not consistent with the agreement she confesses to have said that they agreed. So there is an issue that is not going well with the agreement because we cannot agree, then an attack comes in later. It also boils down to one thing, that there is a business disagreement that is coming in amongst these two. And this is a very sensitive thing that is in every family nowadays. Handling money in a family is becoming very fatal. One golden rule which I will say to everyone, give it, take it or leave it. Never owe anyone in a family money. Do not owe your wife, do not owe your husband any money. You are not debtors, you are not bankers, you are not money lenders. You are a family. So whatever we do in the family should boil down to one mind, one person, one money for a common objective. As soon as you start borrowing money from your spouse, you cease becoming your spouse, you cease becoming a spouse, you become a money lender. And if your spouse fails to pay, then war breaks out. If there is at one point, for example, a spouse refuses to lend you money, and let me give it at this point, the husband refuses to lend the money to the wife, and then somebody else outside lends the money to the wife, then becomes a problem and it ends up into fatalities. So handling money has become an issue, and I'm giving you the tips on how to handle money. One golden rule I've said, do not owe, never owe a spouse money. I am not a marriage counselor, neither am I a financial a business counselor, but from a point of experience, just with this small knowledge and a few things that the snippets I'm going to give will guide somebody into management of finances when you are in a family. Money matters are significant factors in marriages. and can be a source of contention if couples don't manage them very well, and not just simply managing in accounts perspective, but even in their own moral understanding. Now, first and foremost, you should be able to communicate. Communication is not talking and is not just speaking, because in very many other relationships you have people who would want to speak and not be heard, and there are also others who would want you to finish speaking or finish talking, then they can speak their own without listening and understanding. So communication involves understanding the other person who is trying to pass the message to you. It can be through all means, but there has to be a communication towards understanding. So talk about preferences, goals, and concerns about how you will handle your finances together. As one, you must be able to communicate and agree. Set financial objectives as one. Agree on long-term goals and how to achieve them as one. And when you lack as one. When you gain as one. And that's why the Bible says the two shall become one. So everything about you is one. Debt, as I have said, discuss about debts in-depthly. Have an honest conversation about any debt outstanding you will bring into the marriage. Consider debt payoff strategies. Never owe one another debts. Never owe each other any money. And the Bible gives us very clearly in Romans chapter 13 verse 18, it says, owe no one anything except love one another. For he who loves another has fulfilled the law. So never owe anybody anything. Now, create a financial plan. Consider your personalities and how they'll affect your financial plans. In many instances, you find the two people who have come together. One is weaker than the other. Even the wife could be stronger than the husband. And most probably, you might find that the husband is more of a spendthrift than the wife. So we should be able to discuss and put our weakness and strength together and see how we can join them to become a building block. Agree on a spending system. Create a mutual agreed upon system to ensure you are both on the same page on how to spend, on the same page. Agree on spending system. Treat your spouse respectfully. Treat your spouse as you would want to be treated. Avoid using negative labels or contemptuous words when you argue about money and finances and even business. Anything that is not agreeable, do not go seeking for it outside, because it might be thought, your partner might end up thinking that you are disregarding him or her and therefore seeking advice from an outsider. Build your own kingdom yourself. Consider a prenup or postnups. If you are unsure about joint finances before marriage, you can consider a prenuptial agreement. If you are already married, you can create a postnuptial agreement. Money matters can be leading cause of divorce and conflicts in marriages, and it actually is the highest leading cause, then followed by cheating in families, or in a relationship. However, with intentionality and time, you can learn to discuss your finances in a productive way. In repeating what I started with, no husband, no wife should owe another money. Do not owe another money in such a way that this is mine, we should use it, this is yours, it is yours. All the monies in the house belongs to one family, everybody. And the next god of kin should be within that family. But we have instances where we find people making their mothers the next of kin and not their spouses. It is very wrong. Unfortunately, it's wrong. All the money belongs to that family. And when you have come from your house and joined this house, you belong to this family. You don't belong to the other family. And that is why the money, financial matters, has to be dealt as one. Now, how do we manage debts? Debts brought into the marriage, debts are incurred before marriage, usually remain with the person who incurred them. However, in some states, debts incurred jointly after marriages are owed by both parties. But let me talk this out. When you come into a relationship with a debt, consider discussing your partner so that how you can handle it. Because at the end of the day, if you pay without the consent of your partner, then she might be able or he might be able to interpret it negatively. Of money exit, a credit issue, then it will affect your financial status. So therefore, make sure you discuss with the person that these are debt I had before, even during the wedding arrangements or any activities before entering into marriage. And this is something we have to discuss and agree on how to handle them. Now, lending money to our spouse is a very complicated issue, which I mentioned. Never get into that stage, because that one will not stand. Create a financial plan, that one I have mentioned, and then establishing an emergency fund. In case of any emergency, make sure you have a fund of that that matter. And then create a will to help manage or ensure the property is distributed easily if one or any of the bad party dies. But the main thing I'm talking about here is never owe anyone anything, especially when it comes to a spouse. It is dangerous because that is divisive. The two shall become one, and money divided, and especially debts. A debt, as the Bible says, makes one a slave. So if I borrow, or if you borrow money from your spouse, you become a slave to your spouse, and things become estranged. And that is why we are not told the truth here. They are saying that they agreed very well after discussing business matters and private matters, and later on we see what happened. It's not about agreement. War cannot be agreed upon.